Being on earth is stressful. Let's just get that out of the way. Being on earth is stressful because it is not organic. Most of the time, our body is stressed when we're not being organic or things are not natural to us. When you give yourself, your life, unnecessary and unusual amounts of work, you can become stressed. Other people could do twice the work that you're doing and not be stressed. It's a matter of whether it's congruent with them, whether it seems natural or easy for them, naturally easy for them. So stress is really often caused by slipping out of our zone. You're stressed when you eat foods that are not right for you. They call them allergies, but really it's not allergies. It's really a reaction. We call it an allergic reaction, but it's really a reaction to my not being in the zone. These foods are not somehow not congruent to me. Whether that's food or drink, whether it's, whatever else. I mean, it could be meats or vegetables, whatever it happens to be that your body, a certain vegetable, a certain fruit, a certain meat substance. When you say something is good or bad, without even checking in to see what's natural to you, then you're going by someone else's rules. They say causes allergies. They say this is bad for you. Not necessarily. But people don't know how to be in the zone anymore. People don't know kind of how to be in that Zen-like place or in the Tao, in the nature of things, my natural state. And that all happens because people have forgotten who they are. If I don't know who I am, I don't know what works for me. I don't. How do I know what works for me if I don't even know the who it is that I'm talking about? The I am presence. So we learn to say, well, who am I and what am I? Oh, okay, I'm a child of God, remembering my true self. So as soon as, if that's true, which it is, that I'm really a child of God. Now see, if I don't know who I am, then I'm going to be reacting to everything because I don't know what works for me. I don't know who I am, so oh my God, who am I? I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. Why do I need to tell? Because I don't know who I am. See, and that's constant stress. And then your body is constantly bathed with acidity. And then when it's bathed in acidity, when that acid flows through your blood, it's going to start accumulating in one spot or another. It's going to accumulate where you have a tension or a place of movement like a joint. Then you get arthritic. And you say, oh, well, my father had arthritis. I got it from him. My mother had this, so I got that from her. You're inheriting more consciousness than you are actual things. What kind of consciousness? They didn't know who they are. I don't know who I am, so we have the same illnesses. That's what really happens. So they say stress is the greatest cause of disease. But where does stress come from? And so this world came up with an answer. You have to combat stress by doing A, B, and C. And then they make a regimen out of it. But if you think about it, most of the things we came up with are almost self-spoiling. As long as I don't have to put up with you, I don't have stress, As long as I don't have to work, then I'm not stressed. But that's sort of a Band-Aid. The world's version of no stress is really just still a Band-Aid. If you don't know who you are and you counter stress with calming, passion flower, chamomile tea, breathing exercises, you're helping it for now. But if you don't know who you are and you're not living congruent with that, it's going to manifest in some other form. Then you're going to say, I can't understand it. I take this and I do this to stay unstressed, but I'm still stressed. And that's because what you're dealing with or what you're doing to deal with it is still a surface approach. So we want to deepen this whole experience. The understanding of the cause, the solutions, the cure, and so on. So we realize forgetting who I am is the cause of stress. Much like Buddha has said, ignorance is the cause of all our problems. He means the amnesia, the forgetting who we are. So solution would be remembering, obviously, so that's where we're going. So in forgetting who I am, I'm instantly stressed. All right. It doesn't mean the combatants like chamomile tea and all that are bad. It's just I'm saying that only helps so much. Chamomile tea isn't going to fix your soul. It's just going to relax your body a bit more. So we start to realize, so stress comes from the lack of identity. My lack of identity makes me not know who I am. Knowing who I am makes me not know what I'm doing and why, and what I should do and shouldn't do. Now I'm out of the zone. I'm not organic. I'm not truly connected with my heart, my soul, to know what's right for me. So then I say, okay, now I end up doing things I shouldn't have done. Then I feel stressed because I'm judging myself over it, or stressing over, worrying over it. You know, stress happens, it's past oriented. Really, it's rooted in the past, because it's in the past that I forgot who I am. But stress, we can stress over the future that isn't even here yet. But if you knew who you were, you couldn't stress over what might happen, because if you truly know who you are, only good could happen. That's what real trust is, the opposite of stress. Trust, peace, happiness, opposite of stress. So we realize, okay, I want to get back in the zone. I want to find my center. And it'll help first to remind myself who I am by calling upon Spirit to remind me. But also, guys, you have to be faithful to yourself. You can't say, oh, I'm all about knowing who I am, and then betray yourself. And we do it every day. If you say, I believe in absolute love and oneness for all beings and all creatures, but then, let's say you eat meats. You just said you believe in peace for all creatures, but you're eating meats. I'm not saying eating meats is good nor bad. I'm saying that if you believe it's incongruent with you, it's going to stress you out. Anytime you're acting incongruent, out of alignment with something you believe or know to be contrary to what you're doing, then that's going to cause stress. Incongruence, it's going to cause friction, which is a stressor. They call it stress in tectonic plates. When we're talking about, geology, the planets, the tectonic plates, there's stress between them because there's a friction, a conflict. So in us, when we do that, I really want to do this, but I'm doing that. Gee, I probably shouldn't. That's stress. It's stressful. It's conflicting, and then it's going to result in stress. So we start to say, okay, that's not how I want to be. So I shouldn't bargain myself. Guys, come on, man, let's look at our lives. Look at how many times you've dated people that were not congruent with what you claim to be your higher self. I mean, come on. How many times you've, made financial decisions that didn't resonate with prosperity consciousness. Foods you've eaten, things you've had, that you drank that were not congruent with wholeness and love. Treating animals a certain way, treating people a certain way. Oh, I believe in peace and love and joy, and then, enraged on the road or whatever. And it's not always the aggressive, like the enraged or the aggressor. It's even being a victim, shuddering, driving your car, shuddering. I'm afraid of other drivers, come up to a stop sign and there's nobody within miles, but you're not going to go because you see a car 3 miles down the road. They could possibly accelerate at light speed and hit you if you move through that stop sign. That's still stressful. No, it's not. I'm calm and I'm taking my time and I'm not going to get into a dangerous situation. I'm going to make sure there's no cars. The fact that you're sitting there all clenched, afraid of cars coming. You see this all the time. You can see rage, boom, people just mowing through cars and down lanes. But you also see really timid people. They accelerate, brake, because they're just so afraid. Your body's not at peace when you're doing that. So the idea is, again, peace, trust, and such is the opposite of stress. So the more I start to learn to live mastery consciousness, it changes all this. There are so many different talks that we do. We've talked about ascension on these Friday nights. We've talked about ascension, multidimensionality, and so on. And today we're talking about something just right, grounded, down to earth stuff that we all have to deal with. So, number one killer, they say, cause of illness is stress. So why shouldn't we talk about that? And then, if so, how does it apply to you? You're stressed about the past, present, and future, which means time is an enemy. Whether it's past time, future time, present time, it's an enemy because stress is telling you, there's always going to be something bad. There was something bad, there will be something bad, there is something bad, but there's negative, something to be worried about. That doesn't sound good. And so what's Michael saying then? When I'm out of the zone is where I get stressed. If I get in the zone, I won't have as much stress, which means I won't have as much illness. Know who you are. Know what works for you. Okay, who am I? How do I decide that? I don't mean just philosophical, oh, I'm a child of God, I'm a fifth dimensional being, I'm an ascended light being, a light worker. That's all true and cool and wonderful for you. That's great. But you and God can determine your new identity. Are you, I'm a 40-year-old female, married twice, a couple of relationships, and they just didn't work, and so I'm confused? That means that's your mantra. This is my identity. Excuse me, ma'am, reporter on the street, right? Excuse me, ma'am, tell us what you're about. And they interview your soul. Married a couple times, deserted a couple times, really not working out very well with relationships. So now I become uncertain and kind of confused. I don't know what I'm going to do. And now I'm 40. Gosh, I probably won't be able to have children. So I'm barren. I have all these labels. And the universe just says, and so it is, and gives you that kind of a life. But that's not true. None of that's true, but it's made up, it's contrived. So I'm saying, who am I? There's two who am I's. You can answer that in two different ways. Who am I as God created me? And then there's who I am based on where I've been and what I've done and what's been done to me. The sum total. Well, usually the sum total is sum totaled. Like this car is totaled, Oh, I beat my body up, and I used to do so many thrill-seeking sports. Now my body is all beat up. None of my joints work. I'm arthritic everywhere. My body's just is in pain constantly or whatever. Then there's emotional versions of that. God, I trusted a few people. I was betrayed, and now I can't trust anymore. I don't know who to trust. It's sadness, So I have pain or sadness, or even if I have prideful versions of who I am. Successful, great mom, great dad, whatever. Those are still small labels compared to who I really am. So even when I try to be just those nicer labels, but still false labels, like successful and so on, it's not who I really am. And part of me knows that. So part of me inside's going, there's more. I just know there's more. But I don't know what it is or how to find it. Well, there's a simple solution. You name it. What are you about? What would you like? Name, you guys, several of you know that I've done this before with you, but name like a word or two of what you're most looking for. Name a feeling word. Peace and happiness. That's a good one. Love and abundance. Oh, that's a nice one. Love and self-worth are the two most common ones I give to people when they ask. Because love and self-worth, man, if you got that and you practice it, what do you need? If I have love and self-worth, I have prosperity, I have happiness, I won't be dating the wrong people, unhealthy people, I won't be doing addictive things. I'm good to go. Love and self-worth is the same, it's synonymous with God. Joy is synonymous with God. Bliss, oneness, peace, happiness. These are all synonymous with God. So, if I decide on an identity, I get to help choose that. It's not like a guru has to tell me my identity. I get to decide. And it's my version of God. My version of God as I would want me to be. What would I like to experience? How about peace and happiness, love and self-worth? Great. Now, let's say that all of you, I snap my finger and all of you got that. You're now all filled with peace and happiness, joy, oneness, etc. Whatever your words are. Now you just sit with that for a moment and think to yourself, okay, as long as I not only affirm and call in that presence, I am calling in peace and happiness, joy, oneness, whatever. Now, I got that. Now, as long as I live as best I can congruent to that, I will less often have stress. Because I first fixed my identity in place, got locked and loaded, but then my behaviors have to be congruent. My thoughts, words, and deeds have to be congruent. Even my thoughts. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be perfect at it. We're not, as much as we try, we're going to slip now and again. But even when you slip, breathe, bounce back. Now I slipped, but what would peace and happiness do if it slips? It would forgive itself and bounce back. Become the embodiment of your words. Then there's no stress, there's no friction, because I'm not saying peace and happiness and then, acting anxious and hateful. How do I call it in and become it? That's the whole message or meaning to life. It's the whole purpose. It's the whole goal to find something, God in some way, but then not just to find it and worship it somewhere, to become it. That's the greatest compliment you can, they say, imitation or something along those lines. Imitation in one form or another is the greatest compliment. So there you go. Then become God. Become like God. So God to me is peace and happiness. Great. Then call it in and then act like it through thoughts, words, and deeds. How you treat people, how you treat yourself. Only date people that resonate with peace and happiness. And you'll try it, and you'll try it for a day or a month or a year, and you go, well, I'm not finding anybody. I'm just going to have to settle. Excellent. Good choice. Stress will be the result. But I'm already stressed by not having. You're stressed by being upset that you're not having. But if not having was what happened because you were being faithful to yourself, faithful to peace, happiness, joy, then you did the right thing. So when that ego rears up and says, well, I'm going to make you get stressed about following the path of God, because you don't have anybody, whining and nagging and teasing you for it, you have to step up and say, be still and know that I am God. You have to say, hey, get behind me, Satan. Even if, it's a figurative speech there, but even if Satan takes the form of your mother, you should have dated him. I liked him. He was a nice guy. Then say, go date him then. You want his number? You go date him. If your friends say, you really got to meet somebody, then, like where? Oh, just pick somebody online. Then tell him, I'll pick somebody and you date him. Learn to be confident instead of stressed. Conflicted is also the opposite rather, of confidence. Conflicted and confidence. I feel all right. I know who I am. Now, if you say, I really feel confident, I'm just not ready for dating, and 54 years later, you're still not dating, you might be in denial. You might be fasting. No, you might be starving. There's a difference. Fasting from relationship means I'm taking a break, and it could take a year, it could take 7 years, however long. You could honestly, authentically say, I'm taking a break and I see progress, I'm healing. I don't see myself shut down to dating. I'm open, but I see it's not there. Nothing's really fitting. That's when you know you're open. When it's like, oh my God, no, I can't possibly. And 54 years goes by. It's possible you've entered somewhere from fasting, you've entered starvation. And then we know those are issues. There's still a reaction, and that's not your highest good. So there's no way to completely and on a constant level say you'll never have any conflict or resulting in stress. But what you can do is see it sooner and then counter it. You can prevent it, there's no doubt about it, but prevent it every minute of every day, probably not, because there's two beings creating every day, I and we. So I could be working on myself today and we might not be. In other words, we being anybody in my life. I could be creating abundance. The world could go into a depression financially. It's a little harder, not impossible, for me to create prosperity when the world says, oh, the economy is just terrible. I could be 100 pounds overweight and love my body, love it, just feel beautiful, like a work of art. Other people around me could say, you're overweight. And that would be their trip. But I still have to hear it because there's a we that believes that. And of course, in another era, that would be the perfect body type. So the world is a place of conflict. And so Jesus explains this. I'm paraphrasing slightly. He's telling you, you would like to be stress-free. There's magazines and books, how to live a stress-free life. It's a total crock. You can't be in a stress-free life, really, certainly, and not the way they're selling it to you. So Jesus says, I'm going to paraphrase, but he's saying, let me share something with you guys. You are living in a world of conflict. It's a world of duality. There's an up and a down, a yin and a yang, which means duality. When you have duality, the word duality comes from the word dual, which means war, battle, conflict. So you live in a dualistic, battleistic, conflicted world. You might as well accept it, he says, and you might as well accept that there will be conflict. There'll be war, rumors of wars. There's going to be starvation. There's going to be stuff in this world, because this is not your home, as Yogananda puts it. This is not your home. This isn't the real world yet. This is the world that was created by dualistic minds to look dualistic and then act dualistic and give you the reactions of dualism. Conflict, stress. Okay, so in this world, if I do chamomile tea, then it's gone. No, because chamomile tea still comes from the dualistic world. It'll work and then you'll become immune to it. Now it didn't work anymore. That's dualism. The only thing that can really work is God in your center. So you realize, I'm calling in peace and happiness. Now that I've called in peace and happiness, nobody will cut me off on the road. They might, but I'm going to return to my center. And does it mean you'll never die? You might. You probably will. And you'll still be at peace, because I'm calling in peace and happiness. So I'm at peace about living. I'm at peace about dying. And then there'll be a moment where somebody pushes my buttons and stresses me, but I will return to peace and happiness as soon as possible. It doesn't mean you won't have it, but the way Jesus words it, it's going to happen. And he says, because that's this world. And then you go, just when you go, okay, fine, I guess he's saying we just have to deal with it. Then he counters with one more word, one more phrase. But be of good cheer, because I've overcome the world. Okay, wait. There's going to be stress and stuff because it's of this world. I got that. Then he says, but be happy. How can I be happy with that? He says, because I've overcome the world. What did that mean? It means the consciousness I have attained, called Christ consciousness, has overcome the world. Oh, wait a minute. So my ego created the conflicting world of stress as a result. The Christ self has overcome the world through what Jesus did, and the Christ in me is capable of overcoming this world. So he's telling me there's a remedy, and it's the Christ self, not chamomile, Christ. Not chamomile, Christ. So as I awaken Christ consciousness, which is my true identity, it is the remedy. I start getting an infusion of peace, or whatever your words are. I'm going to call in peace and happiness. Gee, I feel so much better. Well, now be careful, because just like some people think they buy a cross and say, I have Jesus in my life, now I'm good to go, I'm going to go to heaven, and then act like, a mean person, you think you're set to go. You're not set to go. It's a lie. You have to be this thing. So if you say, I get it, I call on Christ, or as I awaken Christ, then the stress won't be there and I won't be conflicted. That's true, but you have to feel it, breathe it in, live it, become it. You have to become it and live it. When I live it, it anchors the final vestiges of it into my being. When I call it in, like I'm calling in peace and joy, every day, and breathing it in is very cool. Good exercise. You can get this on my website. It's free under the Teachings tab. Under Teachings, it's michaelmirdad.com, and under the Teachings tab, there's a link called Downloads. In Downloads, there's a free one called Refilling, like filling up, refilling exercise. That's the exercise that, it's like to have a God day, to have a connected communion with God. And so I fill up with God, but it doesn't end where you just go, and kind of get into this nice vibe. The communion, the real living the life, it's calling it in, and then it's visualizing it so in your few minutes of meditation a day, and then giving thanks. There's 3 steps to that part, but there's 2 more parts still. 1, your actions have to be congruent. So that's 4 out of these 5 steps. And the 5th step, you bring it to others. You bring that change to others. Not just in my actions, but literally be an example to other people. Bring it to others. Give to others. tithe to others, donate to others, give smiles, give hope to people that are struggling. That's bringing it to others. So to really not live the conflicted, dualistic, stressful life, it means living the God life, the Christ life, the life of love and peace, by calling it in, visualizing it into your life. That puts it into the matrix of the universe, and then giving thanks, which anchors it on that level. Excellent. We're locked in. Now it's still, to a degree, it's still a theory until it's actually brought forward. It's like planting a flower, watering it, and putting it in my yard. I get to see it. But there's just something different about picking it, cutting it, giving it to somebody, and oh, wow, I feel loved, I feel appreciated, I feel, seen, or whatever it happens to be. That's what we do with these gifts. Bring them into the world. So beautiful if you think about it. It's just so beautiful. So, as I start to wrap up, stress, I'm not going to get into the biologies of it, per se. I'm saying that I agree, stress causes, more than anything else, causes illness. But stress isn't what people think. It's not just not getting your way. God, I'm so stressed I have to work so many hours. God, I'm so stressed that my partner argues with me. Those things are stressful. But why do you have that job and that partner? Why are you working so many hours? Why do you think it's too many hours? Other people do it with no problem. It's because it's incongruent to you. Something in you says, this is not me. So who's the me that's talking? I don't even know. And so how was I going to get a right job and a right partner? Technically, it was all very aligned. It was very congruent. When you were messed up, you got a messed up job. When you were messed up, you got a messed up partnership. So sounds like it's all pretty fair to me, but it's not the world I want. Who's the I speaking? There's a part of me that's waking up saying that's no longer good enough. That's the chooser, my soul. It's not yet my divine self, but it's part of me that's choosing to wake up from the sleeping self to the divine self, the chooser. And it's saying, wait, like the old fable, the emperor is naked. There's something wrong here. There's something that's not right. This job, this situation. And it's just that what most people do at that point is either, oh, but I don't know of any other. I'm a victim. I just have to have this. There's no other way. Or we blame other people. You made me have to work 2 jobs. You made me have to, the world makes me this and that and the other. My mother made me have this illness genetically. So we do these various forms, expressions of the victim. None of them are healthy. None of them are good for us. And none of them are true or accurate. They're all us lying to ourselves. So take responsibility, not just for the stuff that's gone wrong. Take responsibility for when you're ready to have things go right. Meaning the right direction, the only real direction, towards God. So we say, okay, got it. And you start to feel a greater sense of peace, and stress starts to fall away, with or without the job. I start to feel an identity. I'm identifying with peace and happiness. And then all of a sudden, well, this relationship just doesn't resonate. Maybe I'm going to stay in the relationship, but I'm going to get a counselor that helps us bring peace and happiness to each other. Partner says absolutely no way, and they want to kick me around a little longer. Doesn't resonate. But what am I going to do financially? I better stay. Wrong. That's stressful because it's not true. It's incongruent. It's conflicted because you're conflicted. So you have to breathe and say, God, I'm ready to forgive myself for all, forgiveness. Oh my God, forgiveness is like such an antidote to all the effects that stress once had. Washes me, bathes me clean, cellularly and in consciousness. It washes me pure, washes me clean. And I realize, God, this is okay. Stress, I can do physical things. Take a warm bubble bath, man. It's so cool. Nice colored candles, scented candles rather. Lavender, oh, isn't lavender nice? Lavender, scent, chamomile tea, having a nice, bath, it's nice. Don't go in there with an espresso. That's incongruent with, the concept of peace. Unless for some reason that resonates with peace and tranquility for you. If you don't call stimulation tranquility, I'm talking about real tranquility, like a calming. So, have something that feels congruent. Don't watch a horror movie if you're trying to manifest peace and happiness in your life. That's conflicted, to say the least. But, who you date, how long you stay with someone, to see a counselor, to not see a counselor. Even foods that create conflict in your system. I eat this and it starts creating more inflammation. Then it's not right for you. Something like gout, eating excessive, amounts of rich foods, and then you get gout. Well, fast, change your diet. No more fatty foods, no more deep fried foods, no more stagnating foods, no more red meats, and so on. Certain foods are going to be a no-no. You need to cleanse if you've got something like that. Clear the old. That's just a metaphor, the gout example. It's clear things. When you see stagnation, if you can't open a drawer because there's so much crap in it, man, have a bonfire. Not in the drawer. But get stuff out of there. Burn it, shred it, throw it away, or whatever. Recycle the paper if it's recyclable, Just clear the old. Anything I do that is not the true I am is going to be conflicted in my heart. I'm going to know that it's not right for me, and that's going to create or result in stress. Remember, though, that doesn't mean you can say, well, I just realized what he said is anything that's incongruent. I've decided all of you are incongruent, and I don't want to work anymore. Being lazy doesn't mean you don't have stress. So catering to your ego and just trying to escape three-dimensional things that you have to do, show up on time and do something. Oh, this stresses me out. I hate being called on showing up late to work. I need a job that won't pick on me for that. Or you could just show up on time. I mean, come on. So you got to watch not just where the world is incongruent, but where you're incongruent. Showing up late all the time is incongruent with peace because you're also making other people's lives not peaceful, which then your conscience knows is not peaceful to your soul. You might think in your head that it's peaceful. I love showing up whenever I want. I don't care about other people. That's not real peace. That's egotistic, and therefore it's not true peace. So don't try to brush that under the rug and get away with it. Watch for where you not only look for peace in your own life, but how you manifest it for others. The greater good, it's called. I'm not saying sacrifice yourself for their opinions, but the greater good in the long run means how can I bring peace and love to other people? If I am that I am, if I am made as God has made me, I am the living Christ. I am as God created me. So I'm the presence as much as I can be today. Peace and happiness. Then are you bringing peace and happiness? I've known one popular speaker on the tour circuit that I've, met and spoke with in conferences now and again. Real popular. A lot of you guys would know who it is, but I won't name him. But this person, they talk, I'm all about peace. I'm all about peace. Speak peace to the world, bring peace to the world. And I've never known a speaker on tour circuits, and I met hundreds. Never known any speakers that have created more conflict at the conferences. Oh my God. They're all about peace, but they want to talk longer than anybody else and cut their time off and not care about other people having to lose time because they went too long. They want this, they want that, they want demands. They cause the coordinators, facilitators and coordinators of the events, to pull their hair out. That's a lie. It's selfish narcissism. When you claim I'm so much about peace and happiness, and then you do all these things to harm people. Just another form of hypocrisy. And that's life. We have to work on that. We have to deal with that. We have to cure that in ourselves, okay? So hopefully this has made sense. Again, stress the topic. Biologically, yes, inflammation, it's inflammatory, it harms us, but it comes from friction or conflict. Conflict coming from us being out of alignment or incongruent with what we know to be right. But it's not just what I want in my spoiled life. It's also what's right for the people around me and everything around me. Be in harmony. You can say, well, I'm all at peace with eating meats. But it may not be very peaceful to the animals you're eating, so consider them. I'm not saying don't be a meat eater. I'm saying just consider it. So sometimes eating eggs but range free, or whatever they call it. Foods that are more organic, it's less incongruent to your system. And again, I'm not telling you have to eat like only organic and veggies and all. We all have what works for us, but go with what works for you. Know what works for you. Some of us can eat, cookies for dinner and be totally at peace with it. It's in through and through. It's just fine. I do that, But other people, oh my God, looking at a cookie and their body rashes and they get all freaked out, So you got to find what seems to work for you. But I will say, the more your consciousness gets cleared, the less things affect you. Not because you shut off a consciousness or conscientiousness, but it's because you know what works and you just sort of live in the Tao. And you're also more immune to things because you're so clear. You're not reactive. You don't have things that push your buttons and jerk you left and right and inflame in your system and so on. So, that does happen over time, as you purify and clear the mind. So I pray this has made good sense. I'm talking spiritual as well as human about stress, but giving it a spiritual perspective, and I hope that it can fill in some blanks there. If you want to just read or hear or learn or study on more the physiological versions, go and knock yourself out. They just won't usually approach it and give you the spiritual real causation. But if that's what you need, if you need to get to the physical, biological, post-trauma causes stress, work on the wounds of post-trauma so that it's not infiltrating the cells of your body. Because post-trauma, I could be eating something organic. A post-traumatic event could be in the cells of my being. And when I ingest this, the cells of my being are going to beat the hell out of the most calming, loving, sweet, organic material. Because my body's just screaming with post-trauma. Uproot the post-trauma. Heal it. And we have talks just on that somewhere along the line in the library of all the videos here. So maybe I'll do some more work on that sometime with you guys. But you've got to work on the post-trauma. The past has to be cleared to make room for the future in the present. Thank you guys. Thanks for letting me share, and thanks for watching and listening. I pray these things make good sense to you, and hope to connect with you again. Thank you.